Hey YouTube, it's Jeremy from Geek of Spades. I know it's been a while since I've uploaded one of these things, but I wanted to upload this one for you guys. I'm going to start doing all of my painting stuff on YouTube. I know I've been doing it with Twitch, but we're just not getting the follow through from Twitch that I was hoping for. So I'm going to start trying to do this on YouTube, go live on YouTube, and on Twitch. That way anyone who wants to watch on Twitch can still watch on Twitch, but it's going to be YouTube that I'm going to be primarily focusing on. Which means, for those of you who watch our YouTube channel, and I know some of you have left, because there hasn't been much going on, but it means you're going to see an increase in painting videos. Maybe not tutorials, but videos at least. And I feel like that will be a good thing for everybody involved. So I'm going to be doing some airbrushing. So let me get my janky newspaper ad that I use as a workspace cover for. And I know this makes it hard to see what I'm doing, and I apologize. Maybe I should just see if I can get some black paper or something I can use instead. And at least you'll be able to see. Instead of looking at old grocery ads. So, this one I'm going to be painting today. This is Kharn the Betrayer for Warhammer 40k. And before I get started on him, I already showed this off on the live stream before I hit record, but I'm going to show it off again. This is what I've been building with my spare time. This is a war pulpit from Raging Heroes Toughest Girls in the Galaxy 2. I finally got the rest of my stuff. It's all in this box. So here's my other war pulpit, and a whole bunch of infantry down in there. And so I wanted to build one of these, but I don't have the bases yet, so I can't put together the legs because I need to make sure that everything fits on the base before adding, texture and stuff. But this is the torso, and to give you an idea of how big it is, here's the pilot. And she sits right here. This is a fairly substantial model. Because like I said, this is the torso and this is Kharn. This is, with the legs, it stands about yay high. So it's significantly taller than your average Penitent engine. But it's okay, I dig it. I dig it, so it's all good. Alright, I'm gonna grab a glove here. There's no airbrush that glove. I know you're supposed to wear a mask, but I don't own any, and it's not something I want to get just yet. Excuse me. Had to inflate my glove. So my airbrush has been giving me issues, and I just did a deep clean on it, and I'm hoping it's going to be working so that we can do this whole thing. So you can see from the top, Kharn looks pretty good. Rob, the buddy I'm painting this for, on commission, he sprayed it with, it looks like black primer and corn red. I think it's called corn red. It's not Mephiston red because that's a lot brighter. I use that on my Blood Angels. And to give you an idea, that would be Mephiston red. So we're gonna try and bring this up a little. I might actually need some other colors. This is gonna be interesting because I have not had much luck using these paints. But I'm going to use some Minute Air reds. So let's see, I want fresh blood. That's beautiful. Let's go with another Ghost Tint. Angelic blood, Nebula red. Try those out. See how they work. I'm not counting on them being great. I used to paint my Blood Angels with these paints, and they were terrible to work with. As great as Stynylrez primers are, Minute Air airbrush paints are not. I have a... There they are. I cleared some space off on my desk a while back, and it's not working as well as I thought it would. So What we're going to do is I'm going to spray it with medium brown, just to get all the black filled in. And then we'll go through this chain of reds to get us that bright red corn color. And then I think I'm either going to hit it with this blood red, fresh blood ghost tint, or go over it with some Liquitex red ink. But we will see, because first I've got to get the other colors airbrushed on. See how that goes. So what I need to do, I need to clean out my water real quick, because you always want to go into airbrushing with clean water. Clean my airbrush as I do to run through the airbrush and do stuff with. So we give that a quick clean painting. We're going to need a toothbrush. It's nice and soft and used for getting rid of dry tip. And we need, well, we don't need, but I use a pipette for water and for other materials, because I'm going to be using Minute Air. I'm going to want some airbrush medium. I use Liquitex Professional. I know there's better brands out there, Golden and such, and a couple of these things to mix some paint in. Okay, so before we ever run paint through it, I do not keep my needle stored in my airbrush, because if I ever don't clean something fully enough, it's a good way. What's going on here? Wow, it's nice and stuck. There. Wow, that is sticky. Why is it so sticky? It's not a good sticky. It's like there's stuff jammed in the... Okay, here's what we're going to do first then. I'm going to take some alcohol. I'm going to dip the needle in it. I'm just going to run the needle with alcohol on it back and forth through here. I gave this thing a real thorough cleaning after my last use, because I was having some serious issues with it, and apparently I made it worse. Somehow, I've jammed up the internal workings of my airbrush. I can't use my other ones because my airbrush isn't compatible with the hoses. I don't know if you can see it, but it's stopping right there, just inside the cup, which implies that there's something jammed up inside there, and I don't have any way to clean it. Every time. I love airbrushes. I just wish I could get one that doesn't turn into a piece of shit on me. Yeah, there's definitely stuff clogged up in there. See through, so what is the issue here? Oh! Let's just cinch that shut real quick. It's okay, I just spilled alcohol all over my desk. It's not a big issue. There we go. That's cleaning it nicely. I can feel it starting to move. Alright, so whatever was jammed in there, we shifted it. And now it moves just fine. Okay, so we'll just turn this on. And let the air do its work. Getting the rest of this out of there. You didn't. What didn't you see? What didn't you see, Beamington? I don't know what you didn't see. You didn't see me spill the alcohol, or you didn't see me do something else questionable with an airbrush? Because most of what I do with an airbrush tends to be viewed as questionable. You don't know what you didn't see? Come on, give me some flow. Yeah, I may have... There we go. I may have spilled some rubbing alcohol on my grocery ad, but that's why I have a grocery ad, so that I can spill alcohol on it, so it's all good. Okay, so we're getting airflow. We'll get some brown in here. This is camo medium brown from Vallejo Model Air. Just a few drops. Because all I want to do is I want cover all the black parts on this with a brown instead of black. The idea being that red armor usually has a brown shade to it instead of a black one. And my airbrush is still being stupid. I have to feather the trigger to get anything to come out of it. I was hoping that wouldn't happen. Really annoying. It's weird because I get plenty of airflow. Like, there's not an issue with air coming out of the airbrush, there's an issue with paint coming out of the airbrush. I don't know why. Thank you, this is Kharn the Betrayer for Warhammer 40k. We painted up as part of a commission that included Ahriman and Cypher. Maybe I just have a needle in too far. It's entirely possible. I pulled the needle out a little and I seem to be getting better liquid flow here. Well, paint's plenty mixed. It's airbrush formulated paint. Well, it was. It's about to not be. I'm about to use some Minute Air, and that's always dicey. So we'll see. Just gonna scrub the rest of that out. Okay, so for Minute Air paint, I've had bad luck with Minute Air in the past. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thin the Minute Air with some airbrush medium and maybe a little bit of water, just to see if I get a better result from it. Because sometimes it's really good paint and sometimes it sucks balls. For the most part, it sucks balls. Unless it's Stynylrez. Stynylrez primer is awesome, but Minute Air paints, they are very, very hit or miss, at least for me. Just a few drops. Come on. And just need something to stir this with. Yeah, the Steiner Res is really great. I highly recommend it. Minute Air, like I said, it tends to be hit or miss, at least in my experience. If you can get it to work right, it goes on nice and has a bit of a satin varnish to it and looks real pretty. But it's all about getting a consistency that's sprayable, won't clog, and fulfills your color needs. So right now it seems to be working just fine. Hopefully it stays that way. Because I have another Minute Air paint I'm going to spray over this, and I'd like it to keep working. And Vanilla, thanks for auto-hosting. I'm glad I made it onto your list. That's a big honor. For those who may not know, Vanilla Paints is another Twitch creative streamer. Does miniature painting. If you haven't checked him out before, give him a look-see. Obviously, he's not live right now if he's auto-hosting, but definitely check out his channel. Alright, that's good for angelic blood. Or my... oh, it's over there. I think I may have fixed the big issue. I was just shoving the needle in there too far. I seem to be getting some... I'm actually getting paint flow now. I don't want to jinx it. Okay, and then we're going to use some Nebula Red. Put this one away. My desk is a mess right now. One of these days I'll have a clean desk. Again. The Steiner Res, I've had, when my airbrush works, the Steiner Res is great stuff. It flows real nice. It gets good coverage. It's very flat for, you know, a primer. So it doesn't come out glossy or anything, which is always nice. One of the worst things you can, I mean, unless you want a glossy primer, one of the worst things I find with a lot of primers is they come out shiny, and a shiny primer just isn't nearly as useful. We got 3 drops of Minute Air paint in there and 4 drops of our Liquitex Professional Airbrush Medium. I'm just going to stir that up, make sure it's nice and blended. I don't mind that there's still some of the angelic red in here, because it gives us a little in-betweenish. Oh yeah, flat finish for primer, always better. So much better. I mean, you can work with a semi-gloss or glossy finish, but it just never looks as good. Oh yeah, I like that. We may have some dry tip. Yep. We got some dry tip. Just take that off with our soft toothbrush. As you can see, we're getting a nice, very, very red. This is the base. He was already primed. The guy who I'm painting it for gave it to me with it was already primed in black and then with corn red spray. I think it's called corn red spray. So I'm just adding some more definition. Like, I didn't want the black in the recesses, which is why I did the brown. Because I wanted it brown in the recesses. And now I'm just adding some base highlights using the airbrush before I add some shading and further highlights before hitting it with either a ghost tint or ink over the top in order to really bring out the red. So we're going to do one more airbrush coat. This time with another Vallejo color, one of my all-time favorite Vallejo colors, Scarlet Red, Rojo Escarlata. It's by far one of my favorite colors. It's plugged, so we'll use that one. We're getting some clogging in the airbrush. I will probably have to give it a, if not a deep clean, a more thorough clean after we're all done here. Just to make sure we don't get any dry paint or anything that could compromise the integrity of the airbrush later. I'm a lazy airbrusher. So you'll never see like super duper detail airbrushing from me. It's always going to be base coats, primer layers, that sort of thing. I'm no Angel Heraldez. It's not my style. Doesn't mean I can't put an airbrush to good use, but it's not how I roll. I use my airbrush for base coats, priming, and broad highlights. Okay, so this is Scarlet Red. To give you an idea what this looks like, these are my Blood Angels. This is what they look like. And the highest broad red highlight on these is that Scarlet Red, and then I go in with a Amaranth Red to do edge highlights. So we don't need quite as much of it on Kharn here. Whew, that wasn't good. So I'm just going to do a couple drops, and this is going to be almost a zenithal highlight, just right over the top. Catching those highest edges. The Scarlet Red it almost has a hint of orange in it. It does have a hint of orange in it, let's be honest here. It also dries a lot more matte than the Minute Air paints, which is good. Minute Air, like I said, tends to have a bit of a sheen to it. I'm not a huge fan of that particular aspect of it. There we go. That, my friends, is a red Kharn. Right now it just looks super duper red on the camera. But that leaves us finished with the airbrushing step, actually. And I'm glad everything worked. What I'm going to do... There might be another airbrushing step down the road with this stuff. Ghost Tint Fresh Blood. I'm going to have to try it out on maybe a small part of his armor and see how it looks. Maybe I'll test it out on the haft of his axe of Torchild there. Because I want to see what it looks like before I spray it over the whole model. In fact, why don't I do that now? Because the airbrush is working, which is a miracle in and of itself. And I don't want to have to do this setup all over again. So we're going to take just a little bit of that blood red, that fresh blood, Ghost Tint. And I'm going to try it out on a part of him and see if I like the way that looks. To see if it works as a final highlight. I don't know if I'll end up airbrushing it all over him or paintbrushing it all over him. But I'm going to do one or the other. Come on, spray out. Good, 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 good. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Just gonna put a little bit of rubbing alcohol in here. You want to be careful when using rubbing alcohol to clean an airbrush because rubbing alcohol tends to interact poorly with acrylic paints. It basically turns it into glue. You gum up your airbrush. So that's why I spray the water through first. And then the alcohol, and then more water. So that it hopefully doesn't gum up the work. Just take the needle out because the needle is not needed anymore. It's one of the things I do to try to ensure that stuff doesn't get stuck in there. Just pull the needle out when it's not when the airbrush is not in use. Okay, so I'm gonna take a little bit of this Fresh Blood Ghost Tint. And I'll just drop it into there. So for those who may not be in the know, a Ghost Tint is a clear paint. It's kind of like, well, it's a clear. I don't really know another way to describe it. It's like a wash or a glaze. It tints everything the color that it is. So, for instance, with this Fresh Blood, it gives everything that kind of red color. I know it's not easy to see on camera because right now everything is red. He's very red right now. But in real life, that actually looks pretty good, and I think I'll be brushing that onto the armor instead of spraying it. So, yeah, because that will give me a little more control over it. I use a magenta one on my Eldar for like canopies and crystals, things like that. And I really like it. The Ghost Tints, as much as I have issues with the Minidair line of paints because of problems with the way they run through an airbrush and so forth, the Ghost Tints are wonderful. If you are looking to get something to up your game as far as painting goes, get some Ghost Tints. You can do some really cool things with them because of their nature as a clear paint. Okay, so we don't need the paper there anymore, so now he should look a little bit less ridiculous because he won't be on a grocery market ad anymore. Alright, and we want to drain my airbrush tank here. Woo! Chilly! Get all the paint off of the tip of the airbrush. Did my music stop? I hate when it does this. Yeah, you hit a song it can't play. I don't know why there are songs it can't play, but sometimes it happens. There are songs it can't play. Okay. All right. So yeah, there's the airbrush all cleaned out. I'm hoping in the near future I can airbrush this guy and start painting. This is the Arcane Emissary for Malifaux. It's, I've had it for quite a while, fully assembled, and just I don't want to spray prime it in the more traditional way with a rattle can. I want to give it a nice airbrush prime. And since my airbrush has been finicky lately, I haven't been able to do that. Ow. I hit my head. What? That's a new one. Sure. my Google Chrome just crashed. Like, completely crashed. I have never had to do that before. Alright. Dip the needle in some rubbing alcohol. Swirl that around on there. And then wipe it off. Give it a good wipe off. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. Don't need the glove anymore, so we'll take that off so my hand can breathe again. Alright, so Kharn now is ready for legitimate cleaning. Yeah, everything's still working. My browser just crashed is all. So I'll have to reopen it so I can pull up my pictures of Kharn again. Okay. Alright, so as cool as Kharn looks right now, there was definitely highlighting things that need to be done on him. So let's start with black. I know that seems counterintuitive because we're highlighting, but one of the things you have to do with airbrushing is, unless you are significantly more talented, which is not hard to do, the paint gets everywhere. So you have to re-add all your colors. And put them all back. Just need to restore some tabs here real quick. I don't need you open. You can be muted. Where's my one tab? There's one tab. World Eaters, Kharn the Betrayer. There he is. Okay. Because what we'll have to do is we'll have to go in and pick out all the metallic parts, the ribbing between his armor, a few other things. One of the things I don't like about Ghost Tints, they come out a little tacky. I don't mean tacky looking, I mean they're sticky. They got a sticky feel to them. Just this isn't bad, it's just it's a thing. It's a thing it does. Come on, load Kharn. Load! Load! Because the client I'm paying this for, he wants it to look pretty much like the artwork, which is why. So this is the cipher that I've got painted up for him, who matches pretty much the artwork. And then this is, he wanted Aramon done like Thousand Suns 40k instead of 30k, so it'll be Aramon, Cipher, and Kharn when I'm all done here. Alright, so we need to see how much of this is getting blacked out. Not a too significant portion. Just enough to be annoying. Alright, so we'll grab a black paint. And right there I think is where I had black before. Just don't want it to mix with the other colors, because that will ruin your black, the integrity of your black paint. There is a highlighter too that's going to go on this red, have no fear. I just want to get the blacks done first so that I can see where the demarcation lines are between the colors. There's some weird parts on him. Oh yeah, that's the stuff, Kharn. Oh, Kharn, the Space Marine who lacks armor on one arm. Hey, that rhymed. I'm a poet, I didn't even know it.
Inside this fantasy, it seems so real to me. Synthetic ecstasy when her legs are open. True life behind the wall, where men and angels fall. A fading memory when my mind is frozen.
He's got so much on him. This is a seriously detailed model. Especially when you compare it to the old Kharn. Whew. Old Kharn is kind of janky. At least compared to new Kharn. And the other reason that I'm going to be painting on the clear coat, the Ghost Tint or ink, whichever one I end up using, probably the Ghost Tint, is because Minotaur Ghost Tint especially has a bad habit of activating again when it's painted over and becoming liquid. So you got to be real careful with it. Like I'm gonna have to paint over the stuff that I put on here, but Yeah, if it's all over the model and you then go in and paint on it, it can reactivate, and when it does that, it'll just destroy the model. There's just no coming back from it. It's covered in wet paint that won't dry at that point. So you don't want that to happen. As much as I love the Ghost Tints, they do have a couple of downsides, and that's the big one. You can't paint over them. I mean, you can, but you have to. If you're going to paint over them, you have to seal the model first and then begin painting again. So it adds a fairly significant step to your painting process. I've really been enjoying painting these Chaos Heroes, though. It makes the idea of making a small Chaos Warband very tempting, just so I can paint some more of them. Tempting, but probably something that'll never happen. I just don't have the means to make something like that happen at this point. Maybe in a year or so, but not now. It's a weird playlist. This is the Twitch FM playlist. So this is not my playlist. I just want to make that clear. This is a playlist curated by Twitch of songs that have all been pre-approved for play over Twitch. So it is not music I have handpicked or anything. Just a couple more things to do in the black. And then we can move on to highlighting the red up. A little more black to my palette. And a slightly bigger brush. I say slightly bigger, but what I mean is slightly more spread bristles. Spin the picture. Okay. Chains. Don't want any of the red coming through underneath the chain. Thanks for swinging by, Bimington. Appreciate having you here. Sorry if I missed your goodbye. But catch you later. Thanks for hanging out. Little more black. Check our color scheme. Make sure things are the way they should be. All right. So far, so good. Not sure how I'm gonna do. Yeah, I know how I'll do that actually. That will not be as difficult as I'm thinking it will be. Trying to figure out how I'm gonna do the skulls, which in the artwork do a fade from kind of a like bloody red to black. And I think to do that, all I'm gonna have to do is paint them up a real bright red, and then a few foam oil washes. That's how I do it. Okay, let's see. I've got a scarlet red up here somewhere. That's carmine. That's sky gray. That's not even close. Excuse me while I eat candy. Ask for $1 million. I know I got one. Where it? Where it is? Okay. Why is my Scarlet Red hiding? Where'd you go, Scarlet Red? Not the one I just used to airbrush, but like a legit Scarlet Red regular paint. Not that airbrush paints aren't legit, but it's not what I'm looking for now. It's Cav. That's just plain red. It's not in a box, is it? Let me drop it. I did. Scarlet Red. Okay. We're gonna pick out some highlights with some Scarlet Red. Come on. She's a very bright, almost orangey red. No, wrong brush. There it is. Okay. So our goal here, we just want to brighten up this red with some extreme highlights before we put on the clear coat. Let's start in the back. So that's what I'm looking at in the picture. So I know it looks really bright right now, and it is really bright, but the inking / ghost tint will bring it down a lot. And blend the reds into each other. Let's see. Kharn has difficult artwork to match. I will give him that. His armor is painted up as like a glossy red. So I don't have bloodlettered glaze. I kind of have to wing it. Try and recreate a similar look without the signature color that they used. There's a bunch of pipes I missed back there. Excuse me. How about, I want one more highlight on that before I hit it with the Ghost Tint. It's gotta be something that isn't gonna be like white, because that just makes it pink. So let's try a little lemon yellow mixed into this scarlet, just to do some like point highlights, like right there. think that works. It could be way off, but I feel like it's working. Especially when you factor in that most of this model is going to get a bath, essentially, in a blood red color that will actually leave the armor itself a little bit glossy. It'll look like that. And it's doing that thing again. Song is not available. I wish this would just get removed from the playlist. Okay. Let's see, there's the vertex before. Alright, now the fun part. We're going to hit the whole of the armor, the red parts anyway, with Ghost Tint Fresh Blood. This is probably where we're going to have to stop after I get this on here, because this takes a while to dry, and I don't want to be touching the model while I'm waiting for it to dry. In fact, no, I'll do that later. So we're just going to plop some more of this onto this piece of plastic here. And you can see right here, it dries kind of tacky, but with a very lovely glossy red shade. And we're just going to put this into all the armor panels, but not into the brassy areas, because we don't want it there. And yes, I could have airbrushed it. As I said earlier, you don't want to be painting much over a ghost tint, because it can reactivate. It's not guaranteed to or anything, but and there are going to be spots where I'm going to have to paint over it, because it is a fairly liquidy paint. It's going to get places I don't want it to get. And there's details to paint over anyway, so. For the most part, we just want a controlled application. on all of the red parts of the armor.
Mutual sight, mutual sound, mutual struggle for shared ground. I'm just another one for them to break down. Steeped in denial of the daily grind. Dream of a world for me and my kind. So stick your standards where the sun doesn't shine. For themselves, it doesn't matter what they say. Promise the world to take it from you anyway. They'll break you down, making your vision fade away. It's time to go, get out of my space. Welcome to a world where the air I breathe is mine. Nothing to overwhelm me and nothing to grab my mind. Be anyone, do anything I'd ever want to try. I will never die.
See if there's any areas I missed here, because I'm gonna let this sit for a while to dry. I don't want to have to go back in and go over things. It's gonna be brass, brass, brass. There's a spot I missed. Gotta get his boots. Okay. So now we gotta let that dry, and it's gotta be fully cured before we can touch anything else on here. So that's gonna take a little while. And I'm just curious what this looks like on stream. So give me a moment here. Yeah, it looks very shiny, as you can see. Super duper shiny. So we're gonna go ahead and stop there. I know we've only been going for a little over an hour, but like I said, I have to wait for that to cure entirely, and I don't want to be handling parts of the model and applying paint where it might end up overlapping with wet Ghost Tint. Over dry Ghost Tint, I can probably manage to keep it minimal and try to make so the paint doesn't reactivate. But over wet Ghost Tint, that's just not going to happen. That would be impossible. So I don't want to even risk it. So we're going to go ahead and call it there. And continue with Kharn later. So thank you for coming to hang out. Thanks for chilling with me. And for participating in this little follow-along paint of Kharn the Betrayer. And we will continue working on him next time. I will probably be working on him off-stream as well, just because I need to get this guy done for Rob. I've got the other two done. I want to get him done by this weekend, so I can give him back and finish out that project. Okay, so the next time we'll be working on possibly adding a couple more highlights on the red, because even with the Ghost Tint on there, I want to like add a couple of light dots to the highlights. Maybe tiniest bit of white. And then to the brass, which is what's going to make him look all corny. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. And everyone have